In the year 2024, an election year, a year when border policies seem to headline every newscast and every newspaper across the nation, we welcome you to this very special Law Enforcement Year in Review with Jeff Davenport, brought to you by the Morse Auto Group. Sierra Vista and Cochise County is now backed by Morse. We are inside the Border Center on the west end of the city of Sierra Vista, and as we make our way through, you know what, we get the biggest leadoff hitter right here to talk to about what this year has been. This is Commander Kenny Bradshaw, and before we went live, we were talking about when you and I met was one video that we did about the jail district itself a year and a half ago. I mean, it was during 2023 at some time before
beginning
that.
Of 23.
Yeah.
So,
before that all went through,
right.
the vote went through on the jail district. What are some updates that you can give us about the jail district?
So last year in May, the voters decided that we would do a half-cent sales tax in order to fund a new facility. So since then, in January, we started to get payments from the Department of Revenue as a result of that tax. So far, now we've gone out and we've hired a consultant. And our consultant was a former county administrator from Yavapai County who had just built a jail.
Oh, really?
So it's great. He knows what to do right, what he did wrong, where, you know, so he's a great person to be a consultant. We've also hired a planning committee, or a planning company, and that's Karen Chin from Chin Planning. So they've gone around, they've done preliminary interviews, they've done some forecasts, and here at the beginning of the year, probably February, we're going to do some community meetings. Well, we'll go around the community and talk about what those forecasts are, what the recommended locations might be, things like that. And they're looking at forecasts not only of the population of the county, but how big of a jail should we build? We don't want to overbuild, but we don't want to underbuild and then have to come and add on in another few months. So that's where we are in the process. We've also finished interviews for an owner's rep. So that's a company who keeps, you know, all of us that work in the county, we all have other jobs. So this company, their job is to keep our best interests in mind, make sure that everything is going as planned and as requested by us. So we've interviewed 3 different companies, and we're in negotiations with them on a scope of work right now. And then we'll take that to the new Board of Supervisors and hopefully get that contract approved and get on with construction. We hope right now that we're looking at about a 3-year completion. Okay. So sometime in 2027, towards the end of 27, beginning of 28 maybe, we hope to have a new facility to move into.
Wow, Kenny, that's exciting. Again, this is a Law Enforcement Year in Review, looking from the specific aspect of the Cochise County Sheriff's Office. I forgot to mention that side of it. But thinking about that, this was so many steps in the making, and there's still more to come. Obviously, like you said, if you need to get the approval of the Board of Supervisors, and then
for every step.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. What specific things would you be doing with the community or talking to the community about in February when you go out to the 4 corners of Cochise County? So
the discussion will be led by Chin Planning.
Okay.
And she'll talk about, you know, this is how I came up with what the population might be in 10-year increments from here. This is what a jail needs to be. This is the crime rate. Has the crime rate been going up, down? What kind of crimes? And what kind of other actions can we take that we don't have to build that big of a jail? So maybe we institute an ankle monitoring program to where less dangerous offenders can be left at home and not have to be incarcerated. Maybe we start a pretrial service before they even come in the jail, we take a look at their crime, their history, a bunch of factors, and say, you know what, this person might be okay not coming to jail if we just set a court date for them. It's probably pretty accurate that they'll show up for that court date. So there's a lot of different things, programs, re-entry programs that we can start and look at that we're going to be making recommendations on that can reduce those people and make it a smaller number and a cheaper facility to build for the taxpayers of the county.
And speaking of that, it is the half-cent tax?
Correct.
The half-cent tax on sales tax?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so sales tax. So it wasn't property tax.
No,
this
not at
was
all.
Sales tax.
Right, because only 41% of the population in Cochise County own property. So their responsibility for this, if we did a property tax, would have been like $300 a person, depend on a $100,000 assessed property. So this way, I mean, every truck driver that stops at Love's or wherever and gets a cup of coffee, they're all contributing to that. But also all those people that drive up and down I-10, sometimes those people that drive up and down I-10 are users of the jail. And all those people that come from other counties, come from Mexico to shop, come from wherever, if they buy anything in our county, they're contributing to that jail. So it's not just the citizens' responsibility of the county.
And should things go forward the way that you hope they do, is there actually, like in pencil, written down groundbreaking day, or
not yet?
No, okay, all right. So we're not even at that point.
We haven't even determined what size it needs. I mean, we have 6 possible locations around the county.
I was going to say, would it be there in Bisbee, or would it be moved?
We don't know. I
okay.
mean, so we would, we would prefer it be in Bisbee.
Yeah.
But that might not be the best place for it. The population center of the county is obviously Sierra Vista. Mm-hmm. But we have a new commercial port coming in on the west side or on the east side of the county.
Yeah.
Will that shift the population center a little bit that way? Who knows? So that's why we hire all these professionals to do these studies and say, hey, look, you already own this chunk of land. This is where it is. Your jail needs to be this big, and so it's going to be expandable. Let's put it here. And then we'll take that to the board and see if they approve it.
Wow. Yeah. And again, so many steps just to get to this point, and to have that date of 2027 as being, look, we, fingers crossed, and if everything is smooth and things get approved, being able to see that from here, that's going to be pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to the day I get to stand next to the sheriff when he puts that golden shovel in the ground and takes that first bit of dirt. So
that's going to be absolutely amazing. Talking about and thinking about the jail, obviously it's something that it's hard to talk about. We don't want to focus on negative sides of things, but that is a part of life in Cochise County. And for the people who try to do us harm, the sheriff's office is here to make sure that they are incarcerated and not causing problems.
Of public safety. In order to keep the public safe, there's some people that want to do harm to other people, and they need to be kept separate from the community.
Yeah, and how long have you been a part of the sheriff's office?
So I've been a commander with the sheriff's office for 14 years. Before
Amazing.
that, I did 24 years with Department of Corrections. I'm on my 39th year of corrections and detention.
Oh, man, Commander Bradshaw, thank you so much for your service. And what else am I forgetting to ask as far as the jail district and things like that go?
I think that's it. And as we go through the process and the community meetings and everything, I'd love for you guys to be a part of that. And,
without a doubt.
And do regular updates with you. And we plan on doing, of course, our radio show on Friday morning, and we'll do some podcasts for updates. But yeah, as things progress, we'd love for you guys to be a part of it.
No, I mean, hey, we were there from minute one,
absolutely.
as that proposal was being made for the voters to vote on. And we'd love to continue that throughout this process. Commander Bradshaw, thank you so much, man. Here, I'll take your mic back from you as you go and tag out, because we have some tag team action going on here at the Border Center, run by the Cochise County Sheriff's Office here on the west end of Sierra Vista. Some special guests coming up. We'll have 2 more, I think 1 more, and then we'll have Sheriff Mark coming in here. This is a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about what this year in review was like for our law enforcement, and then looking ahead, what are the steps and goals that they have? Just like Commander Bradshaw said a moment ago, 2027. We think, oh my gosh, that's so far from now. Guess what? 2025 is a week and a half from now. So when you put that in perspective, 2 weeks from now, you put that in perspective, it's amazing. I've heard the phrase, the days are long, but the years are fast. And I think 2024 was certainly one of those years. One of the questions I'm going to talk to Sheriff Mark in particular about is law enforcement's relationship with the community, specifically with Cochise College, and how that has evolved over the course of this year, and some things that have happened through the college just recently as Monday, with the opening of the new Firearms Training Center, and how that will help law enforcement from the sheriff's perspective, looking at the county as a whole and seeing that all come together. Come on in. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna hook you up with a microphone here. Good to see you. Thanks so much, Bob. As I hook you up here, there we go. Go and introduce yourself to everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Jeff. My name is Bob Watkins. I currently serve as the operations commander for the Cochise County Sheriff's Office.
Man, Commander Watkins, it's great to see you and great to talk to you. I think about a week ago we were chatting about some VIPs that were coming through. And what is that experience like when there are, I mean, we have senators, we have presidential candidates in the year 2024 that have come through our area, being able to share with them the vision and goals of the Cochise County Sheriff's Office. Why is that something that's so important to be able to relate to people in Phoenix and in Washington, D.C.?
Very good question. Thank you for asking that. So the number one threat to our communities are the daily amount of teenage drivers coming down here to flee, to smuggle human beings. And they are promised $2,500 to transport one migrant from Cochise County to Phoenix. So what the cartel does is they go around the country in poor neighborhoods and they set up a geofence. So if you were to go to a school in a poor neighborhood and you were to pop open any social media device and a couple scrolls, you'll be invited into a conversation with a member of the cartel where you're promised $2,500 to come down here. So if you transport two people in the trunk of a car and then two in the back seat, that's $10,000. So that's really hard to combat that revenue and that drive, and they really target kids because the federal government doesn't prosecute people under the age of 18. So in the last 18 months, we've arrested over 100 kids under the age of 16 for failure to yield for our pursuits. We get involved in about...
And that's in the year 2024?
In the last 18 months, we've arrested over 100 kids under the age of 16 for pursuits. Engaged in smuggling. So that is an epidemic here in our community, but the solution is not here. There's nothing that Sheriff Dannels or our team or any of our regional partners can do to solve that other than trying to enforce it and educate the community. So when we talk about bringing solutions into Cochise County, it's very important for us to realize, hey, what can we do to combat this crisis to keep our community safe? Well, the answer is there's nothing that can be done about this crisis in Cochise County. The solution is in Washington, D.C. The solution is expanding our partnerships in Phoenix, right? And in the last 2 years, we've actually brought in saturation details. And we thought that if we could just apply a little bit of pressure to the cartel, that they would, not incentivize these smugglers to come through Cochise County, maybe go, in less populated areas, maybe in New Mexico or in Santa Cruz County, to where those pursuits are not such a problem for so many innocent people. I mean, we have 60,000 people right here between Fort Huachuca, Hereford, Palominas, and Sierra Vista, and that is such a dangerous area to be engaged in pursuits. So we actually, through those partnerships you're talking about, we were able to bring in law enforcement officers from around the state for month-long saturation details, once in 2023 and then once again in 2024. And it did have a footprint, and we did have some success.
And that was called the Safe Streets
Yes,
Initiative,
Safe Streets
right?
1 and Safe Streets 2. Yes,
Safe Streets 2, Electric Boogaloo was what I called it. So.
That was very effective. So to answer your question, there's a reason that senators, all three presidential candidates, to include Vice President Harris, came here to Cochise County, and that's because of the partnerships and the relationships that we have built in Cochise County and beyond. And we're very solution oriented to see if we can't solve the problem now, then we're going to go reach out to someone that can solve that problem. We bring them down here to see what we're facing every day.
And as the head of operations,
yes, sir.
What does that entail on a daily level that maybe the viewers and myself, we wouldn't even begin to understand? It's we're just like, you should clock in and you get everything organized and you send everybody out on their patrols and then they all come home safely and there you go. That's the day, right? So
I am so grateful for this opportunity. My life has been complete chaos for the last 4 years, and it's been an amazing opportunity. In 25 years of law enforcement, 23 years of law enforcement, I never once thought that we would be policing in a time like this, where you literally don't know what the next day holds. An example of that is last week, our regional counter-narcotics team, to include some of our federal partners, executed 5 different search warrants throughout the county, arrested numerous individuals, and we were actually planning on doing a year-end briefing on this with you, sharing this information about all the incredible work that our teams are doing. That was just in 1 week. And when I was an interdiction officer on I-40 with a canine, and if I were to get 2 or 3 pounds of methamphetamine or cocaine, I was the top guy for 6 months. Like, it was a big deal. My team's apprehending, 4 or 5 pounds of fentanyl a week or every 2 weeks. To put it into perspective, in the last, since January 2023, Cochise County law enforcement has seized over 969 pounds of fentanyl in Cochise County. If you go back to 2023, only 12,000 pounds of fentanyl was seized in the entire country. So this organization has such a high operational tempo that it's almost indescribable. So I am blessed with serving an amazing team where they work autonomously and they are true experts in their respective fields, that my job is pretty easy, but the boots
I don't know about that. I don't know.
the boots on the ground, they are true professionals, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve with them.
It is the Law Enforcement Year in Review from the aspect of the Cochise County Sheriff's Office, talking to Commander Bob Watkins. Looking at, like you said, the coordination between just in the state of Arizona and the different law enforcement agencies that are here. Obviously, the Sheriff's Office has to work with the local police departments in the jurisdictions within Cochise County, and then even outside, like you said, when you get those federal agencies that end up coming down here. How does something like that work on a coordinated level? Is it like you see on TV with them saying, no, this is my case, no, it's your case, because I'm the local guy and you're the Fed, or I'm the Fed and you're the local guy?
So, to answer your question, yes, it is like that, and American law enforcement is very siloed. And whether it be state, federal, or local, you will have people sitting in a room right next to each other working the same case and they don't talk. What's unique about this is that in January 2021, we woke up with a 40% increase in our operational tempo, and not just Cochise County Sheriff's Office, but every law enforcement agency in Cochise County. So we had no option other than to humble ourselves and work with each other. And some of our federal partners, like, I have never known a state or local law enforcement agency to be as close with some of our federal partners as we are. And we actually have a couple of federal partners assigned to our task force. It's incredible, the partnerships, and we honestly had no other option because all of us together couldn't handle our operational tempo. It's not like we could go to the board of supervisors and be like, hey, I need a 40% increase in our budget because our guys are dealing with all this chaos. So we had no other option than to humble ourselves and come together and work together. And we're pushing a regional narcotics team. We're pushing a regional SWAT team that was just highly successful in the operation last night. And we're moving forward as a regional partnership.
So last night.
Yes. The investigations is the priority of the investigations through Sierra Vista Police Department. So I have to yield to them as to the exact specifics. But all in all, Sierra Vista PD responded. Guy refused to come out. A struggle ensued. And then we introduced our gas, chemical munitions into the residence, and eventually the person came out. And it's not the first time that we've encountered that person. He's a frequent
Let's just call it
flyer.
a Tuesday
Yes,
here at the
yes.
Cochise County Sheriff's Office. Again, thinking about the 30,000-foot view, 2024 coming to an end. What do you see as an operations mindset or an operations viewpoint from being so high up in the air? Do you have any idea or indication of what way 2025 could go or will
So
go?
our priorities at the end of every year, the leadership team sits down and say, hey, what did we do good? What can we do better? Where do we need to go? We're hoping to forge relationships, real genuine relationships with the Board of Supervisors in 2025 so that we can, meet the needs of the community. That's our number one priority. We have an entirely new board. We don't know any of them except for Supervisor Crosby. So that's our number one focus. Number two is addressing employee wellness within the Cochise County Sheriff's Office and creating a regional peer support team. So between 2016 and 2022, 222 cops committed suicide. 222 cops died. 160 committed suicide. A law enforcement officer is much more at risk of injury when they're home alone by themselves. So our peer support programs, our regional peer support programs, and employee wellness is our chief concern moving into 2025. Continuing our quest for grants to bring in funding. Everything you see here is funded by a grant. In the last 3 years, the leadership team at the Sheriff's Office has brought in $73 million in grant funding to offset expenditures that would have fall to Cochise County taxpayers. So we're going to continue to drive that mission forward.
Isn't it amazing how the grants are available? I
Yes.
mean, they're out there, and thank goodness for the people who are overseeing them, knowing that the need is there here in Cochise County.
Yes, that's been very effective. What we did is through a lot of our grants, we went out and we got legislatures, state senators. We also brought in federal congressmen, federal senators, and we're like, hey, this is what we're seeing, right? This is our reality, and it's not what you see on Fox News or CNN. This is our reality. Come live with us. And how can we move forward to address this problem? And it's been very effective. One thing that I would like to talk about is it's a fully funded grant team. A fully grant-funded team, and it has been highly effective. If I leave this job tomorrow, this will be one of the biggest achievements of my career, and that is in 2022, we were given $1.3 million from the Legacy Foundation of Southeastern Arizona to address community mental wellness. And we wanted to reduce the amount of reincarcerations. We wanted to address mental wellness in the community. And so I am not a mental health professional. I know enough to know that I don't know anything about mental health. But I wrote up this grant that afforded a lot of latitude for us to hire some genuine experts to build us a mental health support team for our community. And it has been truly effective. And what we've been doing is that team, it's called the CARE team, community, oh, you're going to put me under it now, but CARE. I'll think of it.
It's an acronym. Yeah.
Acronym. But it's was created by Dr. Alana Brunacini. She is an industry-recognized SME in mental wellness and therapy, and she hired a behavioral health professional licensed and then 2 behavioral health technicians that went through the Cochise College behavioral health technician program. And what this team does is they get a list of people that are in our facility and in the jail, and when someone is incarcerated, they're on programs, they're on medication, they're doing well, but then they get released and they often don't have any support in the community, and so they revert back to committing crimes or something like that. So they keep in touch with these people that are released in the community, and they keep them on their programs, they give them transportation, they address the needs of social determinants of health. In addition to that, they also go through our records management system, so they pay attention to the calls that are coming in. And if they identify a call for service that does not necessitate a real police response, they will go out and proactively engage with those community members. And it's not just relative to Cochise County jurisdiction, it's Sierra Vista PD, Douglas PD. So this team does an amazing job of saying, you know what, that probably doesn't require a cop. Let's go out and talk to them. Hey, how are you doing? What are you doing? And I know we're short on time, but what this looks like is we had a community member earlier in 2024 that suffered from alcoholism, PTSD. He was a veteran, and he's alone. And he would eventually call 911 several times, reporting stuff that eventually a cop would have to respond. And then he would attack the cop, because it's one of those things of a negative interaction is better than no interaction because he's alone, right? So he would get booked into jail, and of course he's not found liable. Like he can't mentally, he's not competent to be held accountable for his actions. So then we release him, and he refuses to get on any kind of programs or refuses support. So our team wasn't dispatched or anything like that. They went through the calls and were like, hey, we should go probably go talk to this guy. So they went up there and they do this thing of They write poetry with them for like 30 minutes a week. They sing songs. They string a guitar. And you know how many times that guy's called 911 in the last 9 months? Zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
I mean,
So
just completely eliminated it.
Yep. He has called 911 0 times in the last 9 months. Before that, he was being booked into Cochise County Jail 2 to 3 times a month. And there are so many of these types of stories where this team is just addressing the social determinants of health and keeping people out of the emergency room and out of jail. And it's just hugely successful. And if you want to know if a program is effective, ask a cop, because a cop sees the worst in society, right?
Yeah.
Like no one ever calls 911 and says, "Hey, I'm having a really good day. Let's sit down and split some brisket." We're meeting people on the worst day of their life, or unfortunately when we pull them over for a traffic stop. So that's not a positive interaction. Over time, that develops a negative bias in law enforcement, and cops hate two things. They hate change and they hate the way things are. So I recently polled all of my cops and I said, hey, our budget is small, but if I were able to argue for a general fund addition of 2 deputies, or would you like to keep the care team in existence as it is and it just be a reoccurring general fund? I've not had one person say they would rather have a deputy than the care team, and they're overstaffed. We're canceling vacations. We're having to do all of this stuff because we are short-staffed, and our operational tempo is extremely high. But for my team to say, hey, this care team is truly effective, and it frees us up so we can go out and do law enforcement stuff. But most importantly, it affects those that are in need in the community. That's a true testament to the quality of the program, and I have to credit the Legacy Foundation for that. We're halfway through the grant cycle. We only have a year and a half left, so we're vigorously out there trying to find additional funding.
Yeah.
So if you know any billionaires, if you know any billionaires, we could use some help.
Well, I'm sure they're watching right now and they're ready to step up. But yeah, that's amazing. And like you said, being able to find out how something is working in the community. Ask a law enforcement official about it, and you'll know for sure, man.
True.
Well, Bob, it's been great talking to you, Commander
Always
Watkins.
a pleasure.
Great to
Thank
see
you.
you, and please keep in touch with us as we make our way through 2025. I'll take the mic back here as we tag you out and you tag somebody else in. But again, thank you for your time, man, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing. This is the Law Enforcement Year in Review here inside the Border Center on the west end of Sierra Vista, brought to you by the Morse Automotive Group, Sierra Vista and Cochise County, now backed by Morse. We've looked at a couple of different things so far, and waiting Sheriff Mark Dannels to come in and kind of wrap us up here, get to my notes, and kind of just really bookend this interview, talking about the jail district, how things are looking there, looking at the operations side. That was with Commander Kenny Bradshaw, if you're just joining us, talking to Commander Watkins about stuff. And then I'm not sure who this person is. I don't know if I recognize him or not. Let me hook you up here, sir. There you are. It is Cochise County Sheriff Mark Dannels.
Hello,
here,
everyone.
my friend. My goodness. Thanks for letting us talk to the other guys, too. This is pretty cool, being able to kind of get a real well-rounded view of the year in law enforcement of 2024, and talking about things that are looking ahead as far as the jail district goes with Commander Bradshaw, looking at the positive side of things from an operations standpoint with Commander Watkins, with the CARE program in specific. We spent the last 5 minutes talking about the CARE program and how effective that's been in the community. And now we get to talk to you about this as a whole. Looking at 2024, is there a word or phrase you would use to describe that year in law enforcement?
I would say we're blessed. And I know that's a weird word to put on a public safety operation, but it's a word that when you look at our funding sources, our partners with the state, starting all the way back to Governor Ducey, you look at the operations center we're in right now, that's 100% funded through the state of Arizona. The personnel that work in here, the personnel that work in my operational center at the sheriff's office, the normal operations, our patrol side of it, our equipment, all the things and all the community that's come together to make this office pretty special.
By the way, before we go, congratulations on your re-election.
Oh, thanks.
As
Thank
well.
you.
I mean,
Thank
I know
you.
that was
Thank
part
you.
of, because looking at this election year, before we get into the specifics of it, the highlights of this year, I see obviously this complex that we're in right now, the relationship with Cochise College, which we'll get to in a few minutes. What have you seen as the biggest challenges in 2024?
Well, there's no doubt about it, and I'd even extend that to 22, 23, and 24. It's been this border. We're a border community. We've always addressed border crimes. But what we've seen over the last 3 years is something we've never seen here. When it comes to thousands of people from all over the country coming to Cochise County to commit international crime and smuggle, which has posed a high risk to all our citizens that travel our roadways. I mean, when you drive up, you don't know Cochise County. All you know is you go to a pin drop. People jump in your car. You don't know who they are, but they can't give up. So these are what they call gotaways. And then you drive out of Cochise County as fast as you can. Now that is a recipe of disaster, and we've seen the disasters and tragedies. So over the last 3 years, we turned what I consider one of the worst things I've seen in my 40 years into something that we got some kind of control on it. If we wouldn't have done nothing, I couldn't imagine the tragedies of death, the tragedies of family destruction going on. So we've put somewhat of a handle on that based on our partnerships with the state. Our partners, those that wear a badge, Border Patrol, HSI, DEA, FBI, all of us working so well, our troopers, our local law enforcement. This is a special county in the fact that we all work so well. We all know each other. Nobody's got my department's better than yours, my office is better. No, we all in this together. You make a traffic stop, you don't know who's going to be there, but you know somebody's going to be there. And so that border's been the biggest challenge, Jeff.
And talking about the border, are there any updated statistics on what 2024 looked like? More crossings, less crossings, more fentanyl and drugs and smuggling, less? Or, I mean, how has that gone over the course of this year as opposed to maybe 2022, 2023?
We're down a little bit. The fentanyl's down, the smuggling's down, and we see the intel based on the cartels do not like working in Cochise County. The risks are higher. The prosecution, thanks to our county attorney's office, I mean, we've put every tool forward to make this a safer county, and it's worked. Now, are they still coming? As you and I speak right now, my interdiction team's out doing a search warrant on a drug house right now. That's involved in smuggling here in Cochise County. I just got the text before I walked in. So we're putting some real pressure on our drug dealers, on the cartels, on those that wish to come here. Don't come here. Don't come here and commit crime. Come here to visit a beautiful county, but don't come here to commit crime. So with that all said, we've done our part. We're hoping, absent the federal government in the last 4 years, and that's not a political statement. Don't say, well, the sheriff's just playing politics. No, that's a reality. That is a reality. You look at the historical numbers on the border, not just Cochise, but beyond. The historical gotaway numbers just in Cochise County, if you want to use here, the amount of fentanyl, we got record number of fentanyl coming through Arizona. We're part of that, sadly. Those are because they can. The cartels can. When the cartels have more will than our federal government, guess who wins? They do. And they're not going to stop. You know, even under President Trump, don't think they're going to stop because we have a new president. The difference is we got the partner back. Mr. Holman was here last week. He committed to us. The bottom line is we're going to still have to fight. That's my job as a sheriff, is quality of life, public safety, national security, and humanitarian. And for those watching this podcast, Jeff, they're going to say, well, the sheriff's just being politics. Ask yourself who is saving lives every day out there. Who's protecting a 7-year-old stuffed in their trunk? Who's saving those migrants that are being trafficked? The children, the adults. We are. I take a lot of pride in that. This is about saving human lives and identifying those criminals that are coming here to commit international crime and violent crime. We'll keep it up. We're not stopping.
In an election year like 2024 was, is it a positive thing or a negative thing when the light is shining so bright from a national level, from all of the the legacy media, newspapers, cable, all the the big networks shining a light on the border? Is it a positive or a negative from your standpoint?
It's a mixed review. It's a positive in the fact that I think this election focused on the border security, immigration reform, all that was a hot topic, along with the economy. There's no doubt about it. I think those were the two hottest things. So does that help Cochise County? You bet it does. The negative side is people look at us like this is just the worst place in the country to live. And I can promise you it's not. Yeah. It's not, because we have done our part, not just the sheriff's office, but all law enforcement, all the ones that wear a badge, to make it a place that we all call home. So again, there's a win in that, and there's a win in that, and I'll call it both a win. Even though I can see where people say, well, we can't hire doctors. People don't want to move here. We don't want to take our kids to school here. I'll counter you that all day. If you didn't have the law enforcement you do in this county, they'd have a point.
Well, let's keep an eye on the positive side here. Over the course of this year, how have our local and state representatives, we're talking everyone from board of supervisors all the way up to senators, How have they stepped up to help the Cochise County Sheriff's Office in 2024?
Well, I'm going to give the biggest shout out to the state of Arizona. And this started with Governor Ducey. He set a course of action with my staff and I to ensure that we were funded all the way up to, I believe it's 2027, which is in a couple of years, to ensure that this center, our border operations, our enforcement, our prevention education, all the components of keeping this community safe were in place and funded. Again, you look at just border incarceration, 13 million in 3 years. 13 million, just less than 3 years. I'm not asking the folks here in Cochise County to pay that bill, but the state did that for us. You look at the equipment, the vehicles, the center. You look at everything we're doing. You look at in our the different programs we have, all came from outside the general fund. I'll say this to you, Jeff, and so the state's been a great partner. They have. And we continue to build that partnership. Our state legislative folks have been great to us. And in fact, we're working, just came out, that's why I'm late. I was in a meeting with them earlier, and I was also on the meeting with the Attorney General's office about some funding programs with sheriffs. Some other sheriffs are on that call too. So we're always engaging for what's best for the people. Not what political is best, but what's best for the people. And we have to do that. This is a time where we have to navigate some pretty complex waters. And right now I'm very, very happy with what we're doing. And I'm very blessed. That's why I used that word earlier with you, is that we've been able to get what we have in this county to make it a great place and special place to live ongoing.
You used the word partnership as we were just talking, and I think one of the most important partnerships that happened in 2024 was a continued partnership with Cochise College. Recently, they unveiled the Firearms Training Center. They have the tactical driving track that they use. Talk about that relationship with J.D. Rottweiler, the president of Cochise College, and how he has stepped up to do things with law enforcement to not only help current law enforcement, but build the next generation of law enforcement for Cochise County.
Well, you know, Jeff, let me start off by saying this. Everybody said, well, J.D., the president, is just good friends with the sheriff. He gets what he wants. No, that's an earned, respected relationship. We share each other's characteristics, just like you and I do. As we call our sports, we do MC stuff, is the fact that we share our respect for each other. When I called J.D. about 6-7 years ago and said, J.D., I need your help. We need an academy. Tucson went to a level where it's going to cost us a lot of money that we didn't have again. So how do we fix that? J.D. believes in visions, planting seeds, and growing things. And we did it together. And we did it with his team. We did it with my team. We did it with Service Police Department, the chief. And look where we're at today. We have a state-of-the-art, one of the best academies in the state. You look at the innovation with the indoor shooting range. You look at the dorms that we're going to dedicate next month. You look at our driving simulators that we had the opportunity to get some grant money to support this program. One of a kind in the world that we're going to debut very soon here. These are all things because it takes leadership, but it also takes the will that says, I can't do that, or I won't do that. No, it will never happen. JD's not that kind of president, and neither is his team. My team's not that way. And the guys ask me, there's two things that get me upset. If you say I'm lazy, or you say I don't like rudeness either. I don't like laziness and rudeness. So the men and women that work here, they know my two pet peeves, but we strive to find ways to make things better at the most efficient way of doing it without costing the taxpayers. Because everybody's like, hey, everybody pays enough taxes. I pay taxes too. My point on that is, as a sheriff, I learned very on 12 years ago when I was elected that the Board of Supervisors had their hand out and say, Sheriff, what do you need from us? So I went outside the proper of Cochise County and said, let me find it. Whether it's private grants, state grants, and we get about 1 or 2% of our grants are federal. Everything comes locally from even private citizens helping do with our charity events. As you know, Charity Ride, you help us with that. I mean, all the things Cars for Kids, all the things we do that we're involved with, and the many other things, Shop with a Cop, all this stuff. It's money that the community helps us support these educational prevention programs, and we're helping the community just make it a little bit better. We're doing our part.
You talk about the community itself, and we've seen the community step up in many ways when it comes to these nonprofits, that events that you and I MC. Yes. I actually did the quick math. I believe it is over $55,000 just this year that was raised for the Day with the Sheriff through the Wachukins, through Dancing Like the Stars, for the Real Wishes Foundation, and through the University South Foundation. Those three events, those are the three that I get to be a part of with you. What does it mean to watch these average citizens? These are our friends. These are our people who we see at the grocery store. They're raising up their paddles to make that difference and then spend a day with you. What is that experience like for you?
Well, it's an experience for all. I'm humbled that, and this is something, let me go back and explain. 12 years ago, I had it's like a brand, but I told my team, we need to brand, we need to become a household name in every community in Cochise County. Every home in Cochise County need to know who their sheriff was, who their sheriff's office was, but more important was they wanted to trust us. And that took a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
It took over a decade to get where we're at today. And I say this too, positions are just what they are. Positions are irrelevant unless you have the influence to move something. I could be a sheriff that nobody likes. I ain't going to change anything. I can't bring things here. I can't collect funds and bring them back here to use them in a positive way unless I carry influence. And I say that, and we have to be collective in doing that. But the bottom line is when people say, I want to come ride, that's because they like the sheriff's office. They like the reputation that we have, but they trust us too, and they want to support us. And these nonprofits that you and I have been involved with, so many of them over the years, not just the ones that buy me for a day with the sheriff, but is because they, and I'll just say this to the folks right now, I'm the kind of the guy in the uniform. This is the guy with the talent. And when I first discovered him 10 years ago, I said, you got to take that microphone. I'll sit in the back and wave, but you've done an amazing job, Jeff, and don't hide behind that. I know you're humble too, but the bottom line is this. I do it because whether it's coaching, whether it's people, I care about people yet. People ask me, why are you still serving? 40 years ago today, I was in the police academy. 40 years ago. And people say, how much longer are you going to go? I said, because I still like people and I still smile when I go to work. Yeah. I like what I do. And we're going to continue pushing the innovation button, the creativity button, until the point where people are saying, hey, Sheriff, it's time for you to go. Or I say it's time for me to expire out. And but I love what I do. And I thank the people in this county because it's a very special county to serve. I think I know every clerk in the county to buy a soda from. I go in there and hey. And I do my best business in convenience stores.
Well, and it was a convenience store. By the way, this is the Law Enforcement Year in Review with Sheriff Mark Dannels and his team. If you're just joining us, you can rewind and see all the stuff that we talked about beforehand. In an election year, you enjoy taking the VIPs to the convenience stores. Yes. When they come to town. We had two very big VIPs come to town this year, the presidential candidates. Yes. that came here. What was that experience like? And going on both sides of that, you were able to meet with both. You were able to sit down. We saw the photos of the time that you had with both future President Trump and Vice President Harris. You know, a kid from the Midwest who's just a lawman in Southern Arizona gets to sit down with some of the most powerful people in the world. I mean, does that ever? I don't know. What does that make you feel when you walk into these rooms and know that these people know who you are?
You know, it's refreshing the fact that we know we have that influence all the way to D.C. because influence is what I just talked about. If we need something in Cochise County, we can pick up the phone and make that call. And we've done that before, by the way. If you look at the shooting we had 6 years ago, they were shooting across the border, the cartels. I mean, I was contacted within 12 to 18 hours when that shooting erupted by the White House. That tells me they know who I am and I know who they are. So we have that resources. But it doesn't change who I am. I'm the most simple person you'll ever find. They're very simple. Saturdays you'll see me on garage sales. I see so many people out there. I do my garage sales when I get a Saturday off and I work on my old cars. They're raking my rocks. I like the rock. A yard that's very looks nice. But the bottom line is it doesn't change who I am. I've had the opportunity, to meet with President Trump. Served on his Homeland Security.
Is there a chance of that happening again?
Yeah, that's in the works. I've been asked, Sheriff, what do you want? Okay, and I said the only thing I'd ask from Washington, D.C. is put me back on that. National sheriffs and the sheriffs are supporting that, that are part of the associations, and that's the only thing I've asked. A lot of people don't understand, 2016, I was on the transition team for the presidential on behalf of national sheriffs. I did it in 2020, and I'm going to do it again in 2024. So to be picked to do those things. Met with the vice president. We had Vice President Pence here. We had Robert Kennedy was here. We had Ben Carson. We had Mad Dog Mattis, the 4-star Marine. We've had more dignitaries over the last 12 years, and I'm just so honored to meet them because these are America's heroes in so many ways. Whether you politicize with them or not, it's irrelevant. They still served our nation in one aspect or another. And we've done so much media here, but at the end of the day, it's my local media that really counts. It's you, Jeff, and others that just make it count for us. But something exciting for 2025, since we're talking about, is Chuck Norris. We're doing a new series with Chuck Norris. I just talked to his brother Aaron 2 days ago. That's all locked up. We're moving it. And he's all excited. After the holidays, you're going to hear more and more. And where Chuck Norris is doing a new series. I think it's going to be called America's Heroes. We were selected, 3,000 sheriffs. We got selected for it. They've already done the precast, a lot of their rides. They're very excited about how we run a sheriff's office.
Because it's like a reality show, kind of.
It's a reality show, but it's highlighting those in the front lines of their communities. So we're the first part of the series. I know it's getting picked up. I don't want to say until the contract's signed, but I know it's getting picked up by a huge organization that's going to be airing this. And so again, think about this. Chuck Norris, an American icon.
Yeah.
And his brother Aaron, who's another he's the producer of the Walker shows and many other ones. They've already been here. They're going to be here in our backyard, cruising around Cochise County. And they asked me, Sheriff, what can we do to give back? If we do a donation, where can I go? We got a lot of donations. We got a lot of schools that can help. A lot of schools can need some help in the county. But more important, I said, this is a veteran-rich community. This is so many kids in our community that in a rural community, I'd love to get Chuck Norris in front of some of our military folks, our vets, get him in front of our schools. You do that for me, I'm happy. And we'll put it out there. We get no monetary out of it. I'm just saying, no, I'm not getting paid for this. Don't anybody?
Right.
I don't take money to speak or do involved in this stuff. But long story is, you're going to see Chuck Norris coming to town here. And we've had 2 other major shows trying to pick us up in 2025. And I put them on the back burner mainly because Chuck Norris came to us first. We've been working this about 6 to 8 months now, and it's finally coming to reality.
I remember when you announced it at the Dancing Like the Stars earlier this year, and that was big news there. It's nice to get an update on that. Thank you for that. As we begin to wrap up, when you look at the next 4 years, again, congratulations on the re-election. When you look at the next 4 years, are you able to see it as all 4 years and where you want to go, or is it maybe incremental? Okay, well, we have 2025, 26, 27, 28. Do you look at the macro or the micro when looking ahead?
We do both. We set objectives. In fact, our new 4-year strategic plan will be out by January 1st. It's in development now. In fact, it's being written right now. We've already identified our priorities. So the objectives are what runs us day to day. But we also have a 4-year plan where we want to be in 4 years. And that truly is sustain where we've been, continue to be fiscally responsible to the public, which we have been for 12 years. I'm very proud of that. I think it's $130 million we brought in 12 years as a sheriff. But let me put that in perspective. When I started, my budget was around $15 million for a sheriff's office. That's not a lot of money for as many people to run 3 jails, 38th largest county in the country, to patrol and get there, help people. So you take $130 million, you round it up to $20 million is where we're at right now. So out of the 12 years I've been sheriff, outside money has funded my office half the time I've been sheriff. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Find anywhere that's happened. So again, it goes back to our fiscal responsibility to help the taxpayers, help the citizens here, so they're not paying that burden, but we're still getting the job done. We want to sustain that for another 4 years. We also want to make sure there's a transition period on some of our grants. Our grants have expirations on them, so we don't want to come back and we're left hanging with no more money, but we got these resources. We want to make sure there's a transition, either we close out programs or we sustain them for the future. And so a lot of subjectives, but we also want to push something, I think, our operational, our budget transparency. Everybody's out there, wow, the sheriff, you got the jail district. Oh, that's costing us a fortune. By the way, I got to say this to you. The average cost per citizen in Cochise County to have a jail, a brand new jail, which is so needed, no matter what people say, everybody agrees on that for the most part. It'll cost you $40 to $67 per year. I don't know how any other way I can have a jail that cheap. No. Unless somebody just wants to be rich and come in and pay for it. And that's not something people like to do. People like to build jails. They'll build libraries, all kinds of things, but they don't want to build, they'll build
incarceration facilities, yeah.
Right. But we're doing some really good things on it. In fact, I got $20 million sitting at the state that's going to help offset those costs too. Wow. That we got. So again, we went out and that's why I was on this phone call, trying to get some more money and to better this community and keep that quality of life up. Some people say, well, Sheriff, when do you sleep? I don't. I'm waiting for that for retirement. I'll have after retirement, you can't find me because I'm sleeping. I got to catch up. But I love this community. I love, do I have bad days? Let me just don't make something wrong. I have some bad days too, some very frustrating days. But we have for the most part, a new board of supervisors. We're looking forward to working with them. We're looking forward for that support. Collectively, if we work together, we can do many things together. Yeah. Set aside personality, set aside politics. Bottom line, at the end of the day, it's all about the people we serve. It's not about ideologies and personal agendas. So we're looking for that. Our state legislative folks are already engaged in for the session. That's already coming. We'll be up there several times stalking them, I call it, to make sure that money comes back. If it's not coming to Cochise County, it's going somewhere else. Well, I'd like to get your money back. If you pay taxes, get it back here. So that's the plan there. But at the end of the day, as I close out, Jeff, I want to say this. Thanks to the men and women that work here, we have such a special team of neighbors. They're all our neighbors. Everybody thinks, yeah, who are these cops? What, they ship them in every day on a bus, they work here and leave? No, they live by you, they live by me. And they have kids in our schools. They shop here locally. It's all one of the big cycle of a community. It's a definition of a community. But they're so passionate. I mean, I do a survey every 3 years. It's a blind survey. And I do that every 3 years, absent COVID. And I do it because I want to know if the people within the sheriff's department want me to be their sheriff.
This is for the employees of the sheriff's office. Okay.
Yes, the employees. 5 simple questions. First question is, do you like working at the Cochise County Sheriff's Office? You can put strongly agreed, or not agreed, or don't agree. 87% was strongly agreed, 12% was agreed, and only 0.5% was don't like working here, don't agree. That's 99% of the people.
Where do you find
like
that at any
working
job?
here in a diverse organization by age alone. When you look at, you got 18-year-olds in the jail, all the way up to people in their 60s working here, and you can pull a 99% approval rating. I tell my team, I tell them, thank you. And then we say, well, Sheriff, no, don't thank me. Yeah, I fuel the engine, I set the task, I set the culture, and I drive them nuts. But at the end of the day, they make it happen every day. So thank you to my leadership team, and thank you to the men and women. And please, thank a law enforcement officer. They're making this county special every day.
Well, I want to thank you for your time today, Sheriff Mark. I know that usually you spend Christmas Day with the deputies going out. It's going to be a little bit different this year.
No, I'll be out there.
You will be? Okay.
Yeah. So if I stop, it's good. Yeah, that's me. It's happened before.
Can never thank you enough, for, again, that 40 years in this law enforcement world, and then looking at 2024, a lot of positives to look forward to 2025 on a local level, and then on that macro national level, being able to be a part of that transition team and see that through again, and keeping the attention here on our area. Obviously, we live here, we pay the taxes here, we care about this area, and we want it to be a thriving, successful, and safe place. And so thank you and all the law enforcement officers who are out there all across our county who defend us and keep us safe every single day. And of course, thank you to the top cop of Cochise County, Sheriff Mark Dannels, for taking the time to talk to us today on this very special Law Enforcement Year in Review, brought to you by the Ed Morse Automotive Group. Sierra Vista and Cochise County is now backed by Morse. Do us a favor, tag some of your friends in this and let them know. Maybe if they don't live in this area, you want to let your family know what's happening in law enforcement in 2024 this past year, and things that are going to be happening ahead. This is something you want to share with them. Please do us a favor, tag them, share this video around, and let everybody know that, thank goodness, we are blessed here to go back to kind of bookend this, the word that you used to describe 2024. We're blessed to have leaders at the Cochise County Sheriff's Office that we talked to today. And all those that we haven't talked to, or maybe we'll never get the opportunity to talk to, we're grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for sharing this video.
Thanks,
have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Sheriff Mark.